welcome to another edition of Up Close with yours truly, Colin Thompson. I hope you enjoy. Picture virtually flying around the Great Sun in a Formula One racing yacht at high speed, competing against some of the best young sailors on the planet. This is precisely what those selected to represent Team Bermuda at the next Red Bull Youth America's Cup will do. To be eligible for selection, athletes must be at least 19 and under on December 31st, 2017, be born in Bermuda or possess a Bermudian passport, and, last but not least, meet the demands to compete at this level. That those fortunate enough to experience what amounts to the opportunity of a lifetime owes much to Sir Russell Coutts, the 5 times America's Cup winner and Oracle Team USA Chief Executive Officer.
The discussions initially started as a result of Sir Russell Coutts throwing out a challenge to Bermuda to see whether we could put together a Red Bull team.
He asked the question whether we thought Bermuda had the talent to put forth a Red Bull Youth America's Cup team. And so I think he asked that of the AC Bermuda team. Peter Darhager and Mike Winfield pulled together a group who were familiar with the Bermuda youth sailing scene, and we met.
So there was a steering committee that got together because we wanted to ascertain whether there was sufficient sailors, and that was determined. But what we also recognize, with the type of boats that they're sailing, you not only need sailors, you need athletes. So when we had our first meeting as a committee, that was the goal, to get both athletes and sailors involved and to make this a community event and to open the eyes of the community to the type of opportunities that an America's Cup and the Red Bull Youth America's Cup could bring to Bermuda and to Bermudians.
We realized that a lot of our high-performance sailing talent had just aged out of this opportunity. But when we looked at the young sailors we had, while they didn't have high-performance sailing experience, they certainly had talent. And that's one thing we definitely have in Bermuda. Bermuda sailing is one of Bermuda's strongest sports internationally, and we do have a good crew of up-and-coming talent. So after looking at that, we met with Russell Coutts, and we said, well, we had the sailing talent. They were pretty small, so we would need to augment with athletic talent. Weight and strength are big components of a successful campaign. And I think that idea actually gelled really well, because if we're going to do this, we don't just want it to be, a few sailors going out and racing a high-performance boat or trying to get around the course. And so our mission includes bringing the community along, having the community support, and putting together a team that can really make an impact and leave a legacy for the future. And so to do that, we need to draw from the wider sporting community. I think we've had something like 60 or 70 people, athletes from the wider community outside of sailing, apply for the opportunity. And they've gone through the fitness combines or are going to in December, the last one's then. And we'll select kind of the top 18 or 20 of those to go through further evaluation and training along with the group of sailors, and look at the various roles on the boat, because each role on the boat is different. Some require, solid sailing experience, your skipper, your tactician, your trimmer. There's other roles that I think in a year and a half that we have till the Junior Youth America's Cup, we'll be able to get someone up to speed. They will be a good sailor by the end of that intensive training, but they won't necessarily have the depth of experience that comes with years of experience. But at the same time, those roles, fitness is actually more important than sailing.
One of the kids that is expected to show up today to compete is Greg Mabry, who is a great Bermudian cricket player, a cup match hero in my eyes because of what he did for Somerset a few years ago. But he's bringing all the things he learned in that sport, the strength he has, the competitive he has, and he's bringing it to sailing. And that's exactly what we want to see from football players, from tennis players, from people across a whole diverse area of athletic disciplines.
I'm looking forward to a new challenge more than anything else. I heard about this opportunity through Craig Brown, who does cricket physio often, and he thought it'd be a good thing, good transferable skills. I mean, we're doing a lot of upper body work in cricket, and they say that's what we'll be needing here, so I'm looking forward to that. It's very exciting for all of Bermuda, seemingly. Everyone's excited about this, but to be involved would be great. To be representing Bermuda at any level is always an honor, so to be representing another sport is very exciting for me.
I feel as if one can be a man of many crafts, so I'm not going to limit myself just to football and step out of the box and try something else as well. And I've done sailing before. the past. So I think it's a great opportunity to get some exposure and some experience for the youth and for the island of Bermuda.
I think the Bermudian Red Bull Youth America's Cup team they're getting themselves very well organised. I'm impressed with their attitude and how quick they've put together a solid organisation. They've got a lot of interest from not only good sailing kids but good athletes, which I think they can mix in. Oracle Team USA is sailing with one of their sailors is an Ironman right now, and he's obviously they're working with him to develop his sailing skills, and I think there's quite a few young kids in Bermuda that perhaps play rugby or rowing or other sports that are that perhaps they can come in and use their physical skills and abilities to strengthen the team.
Listen, I don't sail. I didn't learn to sail as a kid, but I know opportunity when I see it, and this is a tremendous opportunity for our young people. And even a step beyond that, it seems as if our young people recognize that.
To get our kids involved with this is going to be a fantastic chance, and they really should be embracing it with two hands, because hopefully we get cups that remains in Bermuda and we continue going on the next campaign. But really, it's just a hell of an opportunity, and you can't express it really. Words don't express it enough how exciting it really is. I used to sail when I was a youngster. I gave it up to go play golf and other sports, but honestly, if this opportunity arose and I was 13, 14, I don't think I'd be doing any other sport.
I reckon those guys will be good. I mean, any Bermudian is always a good mariner. It's always good on the water, and I think they'll pick the skills up quickly.
You want to be in a Lindo's commercial? Or do you have any experience?
A little.
The name's Di James, straight out of Wales.
Have you ever worked with animals?
I have. A pig, a fish, a cow.
So not much experience. Are you funny?
Some people say I am.
Can you say this? Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Lindo's, why go where?
Not gorilla flying. Do you like fajitas?
Not really.
Don't call us, we'll call you. Next!
The class of racing yacht used for the Red Bull Youth America's Cup is the AC-45F, which is the same design being used in the 2015-16 Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. The AC-45F is a state-of-the-art catamaran with a rigid airplane-like wing sail and hydrofoils to provide lift and speed. The lightweight rocket ship can reach speeds of up to 50 knots and is a smaller version of the AC-72, which was used at the 2013 Louis Vuitton Cup and 34th America's Cup in San Francisco. The AC-45 was created as a relatively inexpensive boat to transport and sail so that teams could spend time on board to develop the skills required to understand foil-type racing. To make racing fair as possible, the AC-45F is a strict one design, meaning each boat is designed to the same set of rules and built from the same yard.
These are boats like no one in Bermuda has ever sailed. Not only do they not have a sail, they've got wing, which is a whole different way of tuning that, and very powerful. They're also much more high performance, and they're difficult to sail. I mean, you see the professionals out there struggling.
And it's a machine. There's no question about it. And they were a handful when they were sailing when they didn't foil. So there's a whole nother dimension in them with foiling.
It's a new generation of sailing, something that's not been introduced to Bermuda, and I think that's also exciting that we're getting the opportunity to introduce this to our youth.
Most people, when they learn how to sail catamarans, there's certain idiosyncrasies about catamarans that people have a learning curve, and the boat has a way of teaching you what it can do. I think the first year when they started sailing the AC-45s, these guys went on their head several times. The boat would pitch pole really easily, but having another dimension in there called foiling, the hull now is a launching pad. The hull, especially going off the wind, when you're reaching now, the hull's not even in the water. So the hull is a launching pad, and then it's a matter of flying skills, of keeping the boat up on the foils. That's going to be the challenge for a lot of these kids, because most of them have never sailed high-performance boats. It's a different type sailing. but you know, it's still sailing. But they've got that learning curve is going to be really quite steep.
There are easier foiling boats to sail, which the foils are a little more forgiving, and so the plan is to try and get the kids into some of those, or the youth into some of those boats which are a little easier, and gradually step up to the AC-45 level. So it'll take time, it'll be a process, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of learning that takes place, learning through mistakes. Typically right now, to get into foiling sailing, it takes money, and you spend more time fixing the boat than you do sailing it, because the boats are high maintenance. And what we need is a foiler that is low maintenance. It's not all about the money. You know, there's an entry-level version, and there's a boat called the Wasp, which is kind of a training foiler, if you will. Still high performance, but at the same time costs about half what a Moth does. It's a single-handed boat, and it foils. And they're looking to go into production this year. But something like that will kind of bridge the gap between, you know, going from an Optimist into a foiling 45, you know.
Most of these young people who are in the AC-45, flying AC-45s now, they've been sailing, you know, boats like 49ers, they've been sailing, you know, NACRA 17s. Most of them have been sailing high-performance boats. So for kids to go from pretty docile sailboats to step into something like that, it's going to be a real wake-up call for them. But I think that they're up to it. I really do.
To operate the AC-45F requires a lot of strength and stamina. Therefore, those trying out for Bermuda's Red Bull Youth America's Cup team undergo intense fitness combines, which are certainly not for the faint of heart.
Based on the fitness combine I saw the first time around, I could not make the team.
The fitness combines that we've held so far are really just, you know, how many pull-ups can you do? How many push-ups can you do? Put them on the grinding machine. Let's check out their raw strength. Really just trying to get a feel for who are the top guys, you know, stamina-wise and strength-wise.
We were very secretive about those combines because what we need to see from both the athlete and the sailor is a baseline. We're going about this and building a professional team. That's what they are. They are competing on the world stage. So we need to know everything about their body, what they're capable of now, and what potentially we believe their capabilities will be in the future. So our job is now to select the team that's best from everyone based on numbers, and they all wear numbers, so when they go into the room, it's not who you know, it's based on a number, and that first assessment is whether you will get cut or whether you continue. Now the next assessment is the speed of these boats. How are you going to react mentally if one of those is coming at you? How are you going, so we're actually going to take them out to outward bound and put them through that type of course to see where they crack mentally.
We will be holding a clinic over December which will be much more in-depth on the fitness side and the strength, the raw strength as well, not just fitness. Where we'll be testing them out, and not only on the fitness but also on the team side, because attitude and ability to work in a team is something that's super important when you've got a team of 6 guys. If they don't get along or they're not in sync, you're just not going to be able to execute on the moves you need to.
The format for the Red Bull Youth America's Cup is fleet racing on short courses, which always makes for a spectacle.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of makes sailing, and at this level and in these kind of boats, really where you need the experience, you know. Getting the strength from the athletic pool is great, but those guys will need to be good sailors by the end of it, because oftentimes situations arise on the race course where there is no instruction coming from the skipper. The skipper's just got to turn, and everyone else just needs to know what to do in that situation, you know, and on the spot be able to react and duck someone's transom or tack if they're just, the skipper has to make a split-second decision that we're not going to make the duck, we're going to have to tack, or take advantage of an opportunity to get on the inside of the mark, whatever that happens to be, and the team needs to be aware of what's happening and understand what's going on in the race course to just respond and know what to do.
When you take off and you've got like elbow room in this fleet, there's a lot to pay attention to. So it's going to be quite exciting, no question about it. And if these kids like that adrenaline rush. It doesn't get much better than this opportunity that they're going to have.
Yeah, for myself, I was obviously part of Team Korea before the Red Bull youth thing and the last America's Cup.
The first Red Bull Youth America's Cup took place just before the opening races of the 34th America's Cup in San Francisco in 2013. Taking the victory was New Zealand sailing team with skipper Peter Berlin at the helm.
For myself, I was obviously part of Team Korea before the Red Bull youth thing and the last America's Cup, and yeah, to jump back in and to have a chance to represent your country in an awesome event like that was really good fun. But we're also doing a pretty full-on Olympic campaign at the same time. So I'm really happy with how our yachting's going at the moment, and looking forward to Bermuda.
The first Red Bull Youth America's Cup, featuring 10 teams, was such an instant success that a second event was confirmed for 2017, with qualifying starting in 2016. A major contributor in launching the first Red Bull Youth America's Cup was Jimmy Spiddle, the Oracle Team USA skipper, who views the event as a pathway to enter into the America's Cup.
Oh, I mean, we're sort of seeing the rewards right now. The guy that won the last Red Bull Youth America's Cup, well, he just won this event. You know, Peter Berlin, he's the Red Bull Youth America's Cup winner, and he's steering Team New Zealand. So I think it's awesome that the pathway is working. You know, for these youth sailors that have the dream, they say, okay, that's how I can get to the America's Cup. It's clearly working. And if it wasn't for Red Bull and Larry Ellison, well, it just wouldn't be there, and these kids wouldn't have the opportunity. And I think that's going to be great in Bermuda. We've got the Endeavour program, you know, for the real grassroots, for the younger kids who may not have the access. There's next steps into the foiling generation, and then the Youth America's Cup. So it's, I think it's a great time for the sport, and it'll really help grow it.
Speculation ended when it was officially announced that Bermuda would compete in the next Red Bull Youth America's Cup.
About 5 months ago, we were asked if Bermuda would be consider looking at putting in a cup team, and as hosts we thought that'd be a good idea, not just for Bermuda as a general destination for sailing, but also for our youth, more importantly our youth.
Well, we've done everything through social media, so there's been a buzz on social media. I know after our first combine in August, I believe we had over 36,000 hits on our Facebook page, which is just unheard of. I mean, that's considered a viral video at that point. So yes, there was buzz. And what was more exciting was the athletes and sailors that came recognizing what the America's Cup and what the Red Bull Youth America's Cup could do for them in terms of career opportunities and the doors it opens to them. That was the most exciting thing for us to see, that they really got it. I know a lot of Bermudians have been skeptical about the America's Cup and what it can do for Bermuda, but if we can take some youth and make their lives better as a result of the experience, whether it be even just the trial and what they have to be mentally and fitness-wise prepared to go out and compete on this level, then we've achieved something. And if we can change one life, just one, we also feel that we've changed something. So going forward, we would like to get the whole of Bermuda behind this.
Everybody should get behind the team, not just people here locally, but Bermudians overseas, everywhere. This is an opportunity for a groundswell to show that our youth are capable of very strong, positive things. Obviously, we want to have this sport being in the limelight for all the right reasons.
Bermuda should get behind this team because this team is us. This is a lot like a youth football